Thank you, and thank you, Jazz, because this is a great deal of information to take in, especially if you're kind of new to this type of information. I am Dawud Shabaka, and I am with the citizen of with Harambee House, and we are the Citizens for Environmental Justice. First of all, I want to thank Drawdown, Georgia, and 100 Miles for uh, providing me this opportunity to be on this panel. And I also want to thank my fellow panelists, Christy and Jill. I have a great deal of respect for their work, and I'm kind of honored to be on this panel with them. I wanted to talk briefly about the Harambee House. My boss is the founder, Dr. Mildred McClain. She's kind of a known commodity here in Savannah, born and raised here. She traveled the world and then returned to Savannah a little over 30 years ago to found the Harambee House. It was founded by a request from a community on the west side of the city, Hudson Hill, as a matter of fact, because they were concerned about a radioactive spill that happened at the Savannah River plant in the late 80s. They were not happy with the federal response. They felt that the Department of Energy was not responding quickly enough. They asked for some assistance from Dr. McClain. She was able to really bring this concern to a large audience, the state of Georgia, and to DC, the Department of Education itself. And movement began, and redress was made for residents in South Carolina and here in Savannah. It was that incident that showed her the need for something like the Harambee House. So she began it. Her first program was what has now become the Black Youth Leadership Development Institute, a annual training institute for Black youth in the city to learn how to become the leaders that they truly are themselves. After that, she developed a series of other programs and projects, mostly directed by the concerns of community residents. The Harambee House serves the entire city of Savannah, but we concentrate on the west side of the city because those communities are closest to the port and surrounded by the 17 industries that do business with the port. So there are several projects and programs I can talk about. I could actually take up the rest of the time here. I won't. Talking about the work that Dr. McClain and the Harambee House is doing. But I wanted to really kind of concentrate on just a couple of main points before we hand the mic back over to the rest of the panel. One of the things that we discovered and we realized in working with the issues that are coming from these community residents, like I said, mostly on the west side, is that the idea of resiliency is somewhat fluid. It's both a idea for collecting resources, but it's also a way of life. How we define resiliency here at the Harambee House is therefore twofold. There's a capacity to secure and maintain the required resources and to develop sustainability practices needed to anticipate, respond to, and rebuild after an emergency or a severe weather event or a unanticipated occurrence. But then there's also the other part of resiliency. It's to develop and provide mechanisms to mitigate ongoing issues of legacy pollution but also the daily exposure to such things as diesel particulate matter, fumes from diesel exhaust, and the daily work-related toxin exposures. And why that is so important is, growing up, we all heard the term blue collar work, right? We know that's kind of a 9 to 5 situation. Well, unfortunately, for a number of low income families and for maybe immigrant families, first or second generation families, those are the jobs that they can acquire. Those jobs require uh, staying at the work site, and it may involve the use or the operation, the exposure to chemicals and toxins that the rest of us may not have daily exposure to, but they do. So how do you deal with a ongoing daily exposure to toxins and maintain your health? A lot of times that is really not a, a concern, a thing that is held in mind. But it is a concern for those who have jobs of menial labor or janitorial work. I could name off several jobs that are involving daily exposure to chemicals that can be caustic to respiratory systems or to human skin on a regular basis. This is the type of resiliency that's not always spoken of, but that we kind of look at. And one of the issues that we are very much concerned with is legacy pollution. This is pollution that occurs in the communities I'm speaking of that impact particular groups of people: the Black population, people of color, and immigrant populations who, because of racism or classism, have found over generations that the only housing, the only communities they can be a part of are near ports or industrial areas. This is the environment that Dr. McClain discovered when returning here to Savannah. And to begin to look at what solutions can be found, how a process for mitigating these concerns can be developed, it became clear that the individuals who are constantly exposed to this hazardous conditions, they are the ones who are best at coming up with solutions. We like to refer to our community residents in these communities as the subject matter experts. Jill talked about that is one aspect of the SEER Hub project, where they are actually going to the residents in Pinpoint and asking them for the directions and solutions to the issues. That is we feel a correct response to the question of how do we deal with those problems and those issues. It's also one of the reasons why we were very happy to join Georgia Tech and the SEER Hub project, because they recognize that to deal with these issues, we have to go straight to the individuals impacted mostly by those issues. We at the Harambee House also see the best method to use to find solutions to the issue of resiliency is to follow the environmental justice principles that were instituted back in 1992 at Washington, D.C. by the People of Color Conference. And the main point of the environmental justice principles are the recognition that the planet, Mother Earth, is our home. It provides the environment for our health and survival, also the mechanisms to maintain that, but with a concerted effort on our part, humanity's part, to be stewards of the planet and to help Mother Earth repair itself and thus provide us with the environment that we require to live and breathe healthily, you know. But it also talks about working from the bottom up to ensure that everyone in society receives the benefits of that society. You begin by working with, conversing with, making decision-making policies and processes with the most impacted, the least of these, as it were. Work from the bottom up. Here at the Harambee House, we're not really sure that the present outlook and the present method of dealing with these issues is from a totally and completely bottom-up process. We feel and we work toward a change of consciousness, as it were, to begin to look at, if we are truly talking about equity, then we need to adjust how public policy is administered, how public policy is decided, and how governance is conducted. That is quite a feat in and of itself, but that is one that we feel is a true method to begin to make solid and consistent change. We feel the most effective way to deal with the issues that are impacting all of us, from sea level rise to the constant increase in use of single-use plastics, the use of pesticides, on and on, is to begin to have a different approach, to look at conversing with the impacted communities, who we call frontline and fence line communities, and develop a more practical, real world solution base to the issues that are before us. I'm going to end there, and only because I would like to really go into more of a dialogue on these issues and the issues that were brought up by my two fellow panelists, because we need to find a more efficient way of dealing with the issues that are before us. I read a report earlier today, just one article, but I think there'll be several more. The scientists are a little concerned we're past the tipping point. And if that, cry for help is in fact true or near the truth, then we need to accelerate the work that we're doing to remediate the issues that we face. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Jill, and I'm sorry, to Megan and Jazz. And thank you.